Today our topic is solving polynomial equations, our learning target. How can I solve polynomial equations in factored form? Zero product property. Let a and b be real numbers. If a times b equals 0, then a equals 0 or b equals 0. That's just saying that if you're multiplying two numbers, one of them has to be 0 in order to make the outcome 0. 5 times 0 equals 0. Or 0 times 5 equals 0. But one of the numbers has to be 0 in order to make that product 0. Factored form polynomial equation. Here's an example of that. Factored form just means we have two factors. Both of these in parentheses are called factors. It's factor times a factor equals your product. And this product is 0. Solutions to zero product equation are also called roots. So the solution to that equation would be your solution or your roots. So for an example, solve x minus 4 times x minus 2 equals 0. Based on the zero product property, one of our factors has to equal 0 in order for this product to be 0. So either x minus 4 has to equal 0, or x plus 2 has to equal 0. We're going to solve both of these equations. Add 4 to both sides. We get x equals 4. And subtract 2 from both sides. X equals negative 2. So we have two solutions. So we write that x equals negative 2, comma 4. The standard is to write your answer from least to greatest. So put the least number first, negative 2, and then put your greater number second, 4. Key term, greatest common factor. Our definition for that is the greatest factor that divides two numbers. So it's really what number can evenly go into both the numbers. So for our example, we want to factor out, so take out, the greatest common monomial factor. So if we look at 12x and 42y, we want to know what can go into both of those. They can both have 2, but there's a bigger number. 6 would be the greatest number that goes into both 12 and 42. Because 12 equals 6 times 2, and 42 equals 6 times 7. So we want to take that 6 out. So we're thinking backwards distribution. So we want to take the 6 out and multiply inside by what's left. So when we take 6 away from 12, we're left with 2. But it has an x, so we are left with 2x. Plus, when we take 6 away from 42, we're left with 7, and there's a y. So if we were to distribute, we should get back to what we started with, 12x plus 42y. If we give that 6 to the 2x, we would get 12x, and you give the 6 to the 7y, we would get 42y. So when we do backwards distribution, that's called factoring. We're putting it into a product, something that's being multiplied. We're going to do the same thing for b. Factor out. So let's just start with the numbers. What can it go into both 4 and 24? Well, the answer would be 4. But then we also have the same variable, x and x. So what goes into x to the 4th power and x to the 3rd power? It's going to be x to the 3rd power. it's going to be your smallest power. So if we look 4 and 3, 3 is the smaller one. So we would take out x to the third. And we can say that because if I say 4x to the fourth times is equal to 4x to the third times x. So we take out that factor of 4x to the third. And then 24x to the third equals 4x to the third times 6. We have that factor of 4x to the third. So when we take out that factor, 4x to the third, we have to write down what we have left over, which is x plus 6. So that would be written in factored form. We take out whatever we can. So now we're going to use this process to solve equations. We want to factor first and then solve the equation. So we have to factor 2x squared and 8x. So we can take out a 2 from both 2 and 8, and we can take out 1x. So we can take out a 2 and take out an x. What do we have left when we take out a 2 and an x? Well, 2x times x would give us 2x squared. Plus, when we take out a 2 and an x from 8, we're left with 4 equals 0. So again, you should be able to distribute and get back to the original equation. Now that we're in factored form, we can use our zero product property. 2x equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. Solve the equations. Divide by 2 on both sides. We get x equals 0 divided by 2 is 0. For this equation, subtract 4 on both sides. We get x equals negative 4. So our answers would be negative 4 and 0. Again, we write them from least to greatest. For our second equation, you notice that it's not equal to 0. So the first step that we need to do is make it equal to 0 by subtracting 15n. 6n squared minus 15n equals 0. Now that it's set equal to 0, we can factor. What can we take out of 6n squared and 15n? Start with your numbers. We can take out a 3 from both. And from n squared and n, we can take out at least one n. Because they both have one n, the first one just has two n's. So we can take out 3n. And then what do we have left? From 6n squared, we have a 2 to make 6 and another n to make the n squared. Minus 15n, we have a 5 left over to make 3 times 5, 15, and we don't have any n's left because we took one away. That's equal to 0. Now, using our zero product property, we can say 3n equals 0 and 2n minus 5 equals 0. Solve both equations, divide by 3, n equals 0, and add 5 to both sides. 2n equals 5, divide by 2, n equals 5 over 2. So our solution would be n equals 0, 5 over 2.